Hi everyone, if you can just make sure that you are on mute, and just to let you know that this is being recorded, so if you don't want to be in view, please turn your camera off. Nobody will be offended. I'm just going to let the last people that are coming through in, and then we will get started. So I'll let people come in as they join, but essentially I'll just introduce myself for those of you who don't know me. My name's Paige and I'm a current trainee solicitor at Phillips Solicitors doing criminal defence work. Some of you might know that I also have done the bar course, etc. And I've decided at the moment to go down a different route. That doesn't mean that the bar is not on the cards long term, but at the moment I'm training to be a solicitor. We also have Faouzia, who has kindly offered to support in this Zoom, so I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi everyone, from obviously you probably don't know me, so I'll probably have to give a bit of a background about me. So I'm Faouzia and I'm currently a paralegal at Tucker's Solicitors. I'm a Crown Court paralegal, so what I do, I prepare cases for Crown Court trials, which is all very exciting. And at the moment, I'm a trainee in police station accreditation. Obviously, similar pathway as Paige. I kind of initially want to go to the bar, but hey ho, we're here. I'm obviously under the view, hopefully, to become a qualified solicitor in a long run. Okay.
Brilliant, thank you. So the purpose of this is just quite an informal session, really. The purpose of it is for us to give you some information about the police station accreditation, what it means to go to the police station and represent people, how you could be that person that goes to the police station to represent people, and then just to give you an opportunity to ask any questions that you might have, because I am aware that there's not much information out there about the police station accreditation, so I thought this would be a good opportunity for people to answer questions. There is a chat box, as I'm sure everybody is very familiar with now. If you want to just pop your questions in there throughout, and at the end of it, both myself and Faouzia will answer those questions. I have completed the police station accreditation, so that means that I can go to the police station and represent any client, whether that be an own client or a client known as a duty client, and that means that they're at the police station and they ask for the solicitor that's on duty that night. Faouzia is a little bit earlier on in the process than me, so she's partway through the process but not yet completed it, so I'm hoping that she will be able to give you a sort of different perspective to myself, particularly given that she has also done the written exam, which I'll go on to explain in a moment, whereas because I've done the bar course, I was exempt from carrying that out. So by way of introduction, there are two places that you can do the police station accreditation. The first one is data law, and the second place is Cardiff Law School or Cardiff University. Faouzia is completing hers with Cardiff and I completed mine with data law. So we have slightly different perspectives, but hopefully they are the only two places that you can do it. So hopefully we'll give you enough information about each of them. The police station accreditation allows you to go and represent people at the police station. Even if you are a qualified solicitor or a qualified barrister, you still have to undertake this qualification. So everybody has to do it. And it doesn't matter if you've done a law degree or not. It's essentially a qualification that they say they give you the skills to go out and represent people at the police station. I'll just break down the sections of the accreditation for you, just so you have a bit of an understanding about how it works. So you would join either Cardiff or data law to do their course. It's a little bit like a university course or a module that you might have done at A-level. And you first of all have to do a written exam. Now that written exam is to give you all of the basics around criminal law. So that's why you don't technically need a law degree. I'm sure a law degree helps with a written exam, but you don't actually need one. Parts of the written exam are essentially about the major offences that you might see at the police station. So that might be theft or burglary, for example. And it's also to have a look at the criminal procedures which accompany that. Faouzia, you might want to just explain a little bit about the written exam, if that's okay, because I know that you've recently done it.
No problem. Yeah, just to give you a bit of instruction what the written exam is. Obviously, don't be too scared if you haven't done a law degree. You will still get quite a lot from Cardiff in terms of material and as well as knowledge on how to prepare for your exam. So don't panic. Oh my God, I haven't got a law degree, or I've never done criminal law before. What is this? So the written exam is 2 hours and a half long. I've done my one remotely. So I was at home, sitting on my desk, and I was doing my exam. Obviously, you have to do that with some special lock browser. So that means that you can't really cheat. So you can't really open another page and trying to Google, the definition of the Theft Act. In terms of structure is the way it's structured, you have 10 multiple choice questions and 3 written questions. So the 10 multiple choice question usually is quite straightforward. You have your question and then you have to choose your answer from. They 10, but they count as 20 marks at the end. So if you actually do them all right, you get 20 marks already. In order to pass your written exam, you need 50 marks. So it's not actually quite high in terms of passing. And in relation to your 3 written question, you tend to get 3 scenarios, and then obviously some questions underneath on how you will deal with that situation if you were at the police station. So it's quite important that you know your pace, which is anyways provided by Cardiff. So you will have all your pace legislation with you, and obviously code C, code D, etc. And during the exam, you are actually allowed, is an open book, so you're allowed to have your books. However, don't underestimate it only because it's open book, because I thought, oh yeah, it's open book, I'll be fine. Don't. You still need some preparation for it, in a sense that you still have to be familiar on how to act at the police station. So for example, when you walked in, what would be the first thing you would do? For example, you would probably go to the desk, introduce yourself and ask for the custody records, for example. So that's one thing. So like I said, it's a open book, so you're allowed to have your Cardiff notes because they give you a big bundle, and you're also allowed to have one of the textbook. So you can either have this big EdCape book with you, or you can have the smaller version of that one. I actually didn't go for EdCape. I actually went for the small book because it's got all the offences. And then I went with my Cardiff notes, because the Cardiff notes were quite helpful in the sense that they gave us pretty much everything that you needed to have for your exams. I hope that makes sense. So yeah, that's how the written exam is. I think you have to try not to underestimate it. Only because it's open book does not mean that you can't go with an empty knowledge, because even though you have 2 hours, that time will go quite fast. So you can't really ramble on your notes looking, oh my God, what's the robbery? What's the definition of robbery? You kind of need to know that yourself already. And and your notes and your book should be really, really carefully tapped. So then obviously you know where sort of to go and obviously refer that back to. So yeah, like I said, don't worry if you haven't done criminal law, because they do give you some good training. So with Cardiff, I had a couple of lectures before my exams, which we all sat down, and the exam and obviously the lectures were giving us basically indication on basically what they're looking for each answer when you do your written exam. So don't worry about that. And then I've done my mock exam, which I passed. So that gave me a bit of confidence to kind of do the actual real exam. So I hope that clarifies. Obviously, pop any question about the written exam if you have any.
Brilliant, thanks, Faouzia. What I will ask you to do, if that's okay, is to put the names of those books in the chat, if that's all right, just in case people want to look at them.
Sure.
I did use the EdCate book as well, even though I didn't do the written exam. So I would definitely recommend either or both of those books. And towards the end, I'll give you another book that I use every time I go to the police station. In terms of the next stage, I'll just quickly explain about the exemptions to the written exam. So like I said, I haven't done the written exam. If you have done either the LPC and completed it, passed it, or the BPTC, or I'm sure the SQE, now that's in place, you will be exempt from the written exam. That means that you don't have to do it, and you just go on to the next stage that I'm going to talk about now. The next stage of the accreditation, after you've done the written exam or you've got your exemption, is to do part A of your portfolio. Now, a portfolio is essentially like coursework. So you go to the police station, there are 4 cases for part A. The first 2, you will need to supervise a solicitor. So this is where the difficult part comes in. If you're not working at a law firm at the moment, you need to find a solicitor. Ways to do that are contact people that you've done work experience with. It might be that you might want to write to your local firm, and they might say, okay, yeah, if you're prepared to do work for us in the future, we're happy to be a supervisor for you. Any events where you've met anybody in criminal law, ask them if they might consider being your supervisor. It's not a strenuous role, so it's not too difficult to find people. It's just obviously having the confidence to take that step to ask somebody to be your supervisor if you're not working in criminal law at the moment. So part A of your portfolio, as I say, you will go off and you will observe for 2 cases. So those 2 cases, you will observe what your supervising solicitor does. You will see how they behave in the interview. You will see the sorts of questions they ask of their clients, and then you will see the advice that they give. You will then write up those cases. So what I mean by write up, you will basically describe what you saw, how you think the interview went, and if there's anything that you might think or you might have done differently, or things that you spoke about with your supervisor at the end. Once you've done those 2 cases, you will then be observed doing your next 2 cases by your supervisor. So what that means is that you will now be doing the job. You will go to the police station and you will be advising clients. Once you advise those clients, your supervisor's there all the time in the room with you. So they're always there to provide support. But once you've given that advice, you've finished your time at the police station, you will then write up those 2 cases and you will reflect on them with your supervisor. So you'll say to your supervisor, what did I do well? What did I do not so well? And you will write that within your portfolio. That's essentially part A. Now that sounds easy because you've been to the police station 4 times and you've already completed half of the accreditation. My advice is this though, please try and go to the police station more than 4 times, because you're going to be a better police station representative, and you're also going to be more confident if you've been to the police station more times than that. That doesn't mean that you have to be observed more than 2 times, because you don't, but I would try to, if you can, at least go to the police station and observe solicitors or your supervising solicitor, 4 or 5 or 6 times before you do the ones where you're observed, because I think that will help. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Once you have done part A, you then submit it, those 4 cases, to your provider, either Cardiff or Data Law. They then look at those cases and they essentially check them to make sure that they are compliance ready. That doesn't mean that they see if you've passed the portfolio part A. They are essentially checking that there are 4 cases that your supervisor observed you doing 2 and you observed your supervisor doing 2, and that all of the relevant information is in them. That means that your number, your candidate number's on there, your solicitor's details are on there, etc. Once you have completed and submitted those 4 cases, you will then be a probationary representative. That means that you can go to the police station for own client cases. What that means is that any person that contacts that solicitor's firm where your supervisor is based, you could, in theory, go and represent them at the police station, provided there are some exceptions. So you can't go and do rape cases or murder cases, for example. But generally speaking, you can do most police station cases. And away you go, in theory, to go and do the job. You'll be learning, you'll be developing more skills, but hopefully your supervisor will be there along the way to answer any questions that you might have. At this stage, you then have two options. So you can either go off and do the critical incident test exam, or you can do part B of your portfolio. They essentially run side by side, so it doesn't matter which way round you do them, but this is the next step, essentially, to be able to do all cases. So the critical incident test is a test which looks at how you handle real life situations at the police station in a non-real life setting. So what will happen is that you will be given a scenario and you will then be recorded giving your answer. That's how I did it remotely, but I know that previously you had to go to somewhere, so either London, Birmingham, etc. They have various places, and there would be an assessor there, and they would do the assessment. I imagine that because it's a lot more convenient, that it will likely remain online moving forward, but I'm just letting you know that it could, in theory, be in person. I'll just give you an example of a CIT. It's called a CIT, but it's critical incident test. I'll give you an example of one of the questions that I got in a mock exam. So the question is this: the custody sergeant says to you that this guy wants you to act for him. Do you want to know anything before you speak to him? And what the assessor is looking for is for you to just act like you're on the phone. Okay, so the officer said this person wants me at the police station. What would I ask the officer? So you'd want to ask the officer before you speak to him why he's there, what offence he's been arrested for, who the arresting officer was, when he arrived, what was the time of his detention, because that's when you will learn by reading the Ed Kate book, etc. But once the detention is authorised, the police then have 24 hours before they have to essentially decide what they're doing next. If he's got any complaints or medical conditions, and what the police are intending to do. So are they going to interview him? When are they going to interview him, etc. The reason why you would ask that information is that the following step would be that you would then speak to the client over the phone at the police station, and he might want to know, okay, why am I here? And then you could briefly tell him why he's there. So that's all it is. It's just a sort of mock call. And there are different elements to it. I think there's about 15 questions, and they start from the beginning of a scenario when you get a call about a client, right up to the end when you've already interviewed them and you're having a chat with them and you're leaving the police station. That's how the critical incident test works. And following on from that, you can either do your Part B portfolio, or you would have already done your Part B portfolio. And what the Part B portfolio involves is you doing 5 cases at the police station on your own. So you will go off, you will do 5 cases, making sure that they're not indictable only cases. So that means things like rape, like I mentioned earlier, or murder. And then you would write up those cases. Once you write up those cases, similar to what you've done with your first 4, it's essentially the same thing, but you're just reflecting on your own work at the end. You would then submit those to your provider. They will then look at all of your portfolio cases together. So that's the first 4 and the last 5. So that's 9 in total. And they will say whether or not you pass or fail. People have different opinions on whether or not they find the portfolio more difficult or the CIT exam more difficult. Honestly, I didn't put that much effort into any of them, and in my opinion, I don't feel like I put that much effort in, and I passed. So I would say that you've got absolutely nothing to worry about. The most difficult part is the amount of time that it takes to do the portfolio, because they are quite long. Each of my cases are probably 5 to 7 pages, and you know, it's like any coursework, it takes a while, you have to look over it, you've got to edit it, etc. In terms of the different parts of those portfolio sections, so how to structure it, just like any essay, when you sign up with the providers, you will be given information on what to include. So it's all there for you. They spell it out for you in black and white, what you need to refer to, what you need to talk about when, talk about this here, this next, this next. So there's no reason why it should be difficult, provided that you read that information before you get started. You will then be, hopefully, after you've done all 4 stages, or 3 stages if you get an exemption from the written exam, you will be accredited. And that means that you can go to the police station and you can represent people in all cases, whether that be rape or murder or a shop theft. It doesn't matter, you can represent in all cases once you are accredited. Do you think there's anything that you want to add at this stage, Faouzia? I'm aware that I've been talking for quite a while. No, I think you might. Are you frozen?
Oh, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right. Yeah, I think you froze for a bit for me.
That's all right, don't worry. Anything you think I need to add?
No, I think you pretty much cover everything. I think when it comes to the portfolio, I think you have to bear in mind about the ethical issues as well. There's a, you know, with Cardiff, they do ask you to actually, you know, dedicate a paragraph on the ethical issue. And I think you have to bear in mind as well that in your written exam, coming back to your written exam, because they do sometimes word questions in a way so you have to identify what ethical issue actually is. So for example, I had this situation when I was observing one of the case, you know, with this client completely admit the offences of shoplifting, and then she went to the police interview, and we all agreed that she was gonna, you know, admit it with the view that she might be getting a caution. But then we went there at the police station interview, and then she completely denied all the offences. So my instructing solicitor actually had to interrupt the police station interview and then have a further consultation with the client and clarify, obviously, your position. Because at the end of the day, yes, you represent the client, but you also are an officer to the court, and as such, you're not allowed to mislead the court. So I think you have to bear in mind these things, but it's all in Ed Cape. It's a big read.
Absolutely, it is. And I know you referred earlier to PACE, that's the Police and Criminal Evidence Act. I would definitely look at that, particularly Code C. I know that was quite a big part, and still is quite a big part of the police station. So definitely familiarise yourself with that, so you can see what the rules are, what the police have to do. If they don't do it, then your job is to say, well, you've not given my client his right to speak to somebody or inform somebody that he's at the police station, so you're breaching PACE. And it's sort of standing up for your client in that way, and that's why it's important to know all about PACE. And as Faouzia said, that is in the Ed Cape book, which she's going to add in the comment section. So just briefly, I want to talk about costs then. I've looked at both Cardiff and data law, and the cost of the course is about the same. It ranges quite dramatically depending on how much support you want from that provider. So if you want the full course, so that means that you get everything, you get how to succeed in the exam, you get mock exams, all of the sample lectures, etc. You are looking towards the end of about £850–900. If you don't want all of that and you just want to do the exams, maybe you've managed to get the material from somebody else. I'm not suggesting that you should do that, but some people do. Maybe you've got the material from somebody, they've given you your notes, you're quietly confident that you can pass without all of that support. It's about £400-ish. So it does make quite a difference. If you're working at a firm, they will generally pay for it. If you are entering into an agreement with a firm that you've done work experience, that you will work for them afterwards, they might pay for it. But otherwise, it would be something that you would have to pay for yourself, which I understand is quite burdensome. But the rewards from getting the accreditation and going out to do the work, you'll soon earn that money back. And I'll just move on to how much you can earn as a representative or a police station rep. That's what people usually call it. So it does vary up and down the country. So I live in Nottingham, and the general gist is that people get about 70 or 80 pounds a job. That means that whether you're at the police station for 15 minutes or you're at the police station for 4 hours, you get 70 pounds per job, and then you get your mileage on top. Faouzia gets a lot more than me though, so I'll let you tell you how much she gets.
We get about £120 per attendance. However, that includes the initial call advice as well. If for any reason you don't do the initial call advice, you can't claim the £20 extra. You also get, of course, the village prices. So yeah, maybe you should come to the southeastern Kent and the police station, because we get paid more. I'm not entirely sure about London rates though. But
I think essentially the way that it works is that each firm will give you roughly about 50% of the fee that they earn from a police station job. At each police station, even within Nottinghamshire, the rate is different at each police station. So I think the highest fee that a firm can get is about £240, which would make sense that you get £120 per job. Where I am, it's about £160 per job. So it really does depend. I mean, even so, most jobs that I've done so far, and I've done over 50, I've been at the police station for an hour, and my travel is 15 minutes each way. So that's an hour and a half, and I've got 70 to 80 pounds per job. That's not really bad for an hour and a half's work. Obviously, you do get jobs that take longer. I've been in a job that took 6 hours. But even then, you're still getting over £10 an hour. So I would say that it is worth it. And as I say, if you're thinking about getting between 70 to £120 per job, you're soon going to earn back the money that you've paid out for the course, if you do pay for it. In terms of how you get work then, because I am conscious that not everybody here is going to be working at law firms, you get work by becoming an agent. So you can be an agent for law firms, and there are various websites that you can sign up to be an agent for, and they will ring you when they've got a job available. Some of those are policestationreps.com or repsoncall.co.uk. Join them all. There's no harm. You will get a better relationship with some, I'm sure. But essentially, we agent work out. So I work at a firm, and if we've not got somebody available, we will ring agents to cover our work, and it's quite regular. So, you know, there's always work out there. There's always going to be more people committing crime than there are people that want to do crime as a job, trust me. So there's definitely work to be had. You just need to get this accreditation. You do have to complete the accreditation within 12 months of signing up to do it. So that's something to bear in mind. Have you got time to do it? And I would also say that in terms of how long it does take, realistically, you could do the whole accreditation within 3 to 4 months if you work hard at it. I would say it took me about 5 months to do it from beginning to end, and that's without the written exam. But I had to wait a while to get my exemption, and I decided to wait rather than do the written exam. So that's why it took me a little bit longer. But you know, if you wanted to do it quicker than that, 3 months is realistic, I would say. In terms of tips to pass then, before we go on to answering people's questions, I would say that you need to try and attend the police station as many times as you can. If you do work experience at criminal defence firms, you will go to the police station. So definitely worth hitting up your local firms, asking them if you can shadow people, and then that's a way in to get a supervisor. The second tip I would have is to get at least this book. So this book is called Police Operational Handbook. I've got the 2020 version. The law doesn't change that much, so I think you'll be fine no matter what version you get. And it's by Blackstone's. This book has got every single offence that you will ever be faced with in it. And this is actually the book that the police use when they're at the police station. So the handbook essentially sets out what points the police have to prove. What I mean by that is that if we just go to, I'll just go to theft by way of example, and under theft it says point to prove dishonestly appropriates property belonging to another with the intention of permanently depriving another of it. It then goes on to explain the meanings. What does dishonesty mean? What does appropriates mean? And it gives real life examples of stuff what you will face in the police station. It then goes on to explain defences for you, and there are also explanatory notes that's essentially telling you common problems that people face. So I would definitely say that this is about 20 to 30 pounds, this book on Amazon. And if you are going to do this accreditation, this is a lifesaver. I take this to the police station with me. If I get an offence that I've not heard of before, I will have a look in this book and then make sure that I know the law before I go in to advise my clients. In terms of advising clients at the police station, I'm going to go on just to talk about that a little bit in a minute, but I just wanted to see if you've got any other tips at the moment, Faouzia. I know you're quite early on, but just in case you've thought of anything else.
No, that's pretty much it, really. I actually tend to bring this other book, which is pretty much the same structure, very nice, very light, which again, it gives the same way. All your offences are pretty much there. And another good thing is it gives you, like that book, the elements to prove on that offence, but as well as it outlines your sentences, so how much they're going to get. Although you shouldn't be worried too much about at that stage, but it also gives out the defences. So, for example, you have to take your client instructions and, oh, well, it sounds like, he hit you first and then you punched him back. So perhaps self-defense might come up, and then obviously you can look at it quickly, what self-defense, how he can actually prove, and then that might influence your advice. So then you might think, well, you shouldn't really got knock on, you should probably answer the question at the police station interview. So I think this other book that I just showed you is also quite good, as well as the Blackstone one. Yeah. And it's quite light in your bag.
Quite similar. So they both seem good books to have, or either. I don't think you need both, but either book will definitely work. In terms of then what you can expect at the police station, so I'll just explain a little bit about that. So you can be asked to go to any police station in the land, in theory. I would only go so far, and I'm sure that most people will. And different firms expect you to go different lengths. So the longest that I've travelled is from Nottingham to Leicester, which is about 50 minutes from my home, and I wouldn't go any further than that. That's just my preference, and my firm are very nice about that. But I know that other firms have travelled 2 hours to the police station. It's a matter for you, and obviously if you're an agent, then you would say, okay, I only want to travel this far, and that's as far as they will send you. I'm sure that if you're in London, you might have to travel a bit further. I'm not sure, but I 99% of the time go to my local police station, which is Mansfield, and it's 15 minutes from my house. So I don't travel too far, but that's just something to bear in mind. You will then go to the police station. So you've had a call from custody, and they've said, okay, we're ready to interview your client for theft. So you go to the police station, you'll introduce yourself at the front desk and say, I'm Paige, I'm a legal representative. I usually say I'm legal for whoever. And then the officers will come and get you. The officers will then do something called disclosure with you. So that's where they disclose as much or as little as they want to tell you about the offence that your client is arrested for. Some officers are not very kind and they'll give you one sentence. Other officers will tell you absolutely everything. What I will say is it depends on the seriousness of the offence. If it's a shop theft of a chocolate bar, they will generally tell you everything because they're not that bothered. If it's a serious sex offence against a child, and I'm not trying to put anybody off, they're unlikely to tell you everything right at the outset. You will then speak to the officer, see if you can get any other information out of them. I always try and get more than what's on the disclosure. And then you will have an opportunity to speak to your client. You will speak to your client about what's on that disclosure, and you will say, okay, Mr. X, the police are saying that you stole the chocolate bar from B&M, and the CCTV of you putting something in your pocket. What was you putting in your pocket? Did you steal the chocolate bar? And I'm sure they will have an elaborate story about how they was walking to the till to pay, and they weren't intending to steal. So guess what? They weren't intending to permanently deprive, and that's where you would have your law book that's told you, well, he didn't have an intention to permanently deprive them, so maybe we should be putting forward an account to say that he denies the offence. People come up with all sorts of stories. It's not for us to say whether or not we believe them. As their legal representative, we have to put forward their instructions, and we have to at least act like we believe them while ever we're at the police station and representing them. You will then have three options. Well, your client has three options, and those are, they can do the infamous no comment. That's what you see on every single TV program. They will say no comment to every single question that are asked of them. The second option is that they can answer all of the questions that are asked of them. That means that they will have to give an answer to every question. I always advise clients against answering no comment to some questions and answering and giving answers to other questions, because it leads to quite a bad adverse inference in my view. And that's because if somebody says no comment at the police station, but they had a story to give, so maybe like our guy that was at the store, he had a story to give. He said that he wasn't intending to steal it and he was going to the till. So if he doesn't give that story at the police station and then tries to put it forward at court 5 months later, the court might draw an adverse inference, which means they might think that he's made it up. It's very important, that is, because people think, oh, let's go, no comment, but no comment's not always the best option. The third option is that you can do something called a written statement. That's like a prepared statement where between you and your client, you tell the police what you want to tell them, and then you don't answer any other questions that they ask of you. Once you've advised your client what you think the best option is, and they've made their decision, because ultimately it is their decision, you will then go into interview. The police caution will be explained to them. So that's essentially that they don't have to say anything. But if they don't say something now and they say it later, people might think they've made it up. And they will explain the general procedure of the interview to them. You're then in the interview. So your client will do whatever he or she has decided to do, whether that be your advice or otherwise. And you will then conclude the interview, have a quick chat with your client, and the police will go off to make their decision about what they're going to do. That might be that they're going to bail them to come back to the police station at a later date, or it might be that they're going to hold them for court the next morning. I would say that no day at the police station is the same. You meet all sorts of characters. You don't just meet people that you would think in your head are criminals, you know, people that are, I don't know, homeless, or maybe people that have been brought up around crime. That's not necessarily the case. I've represented people that are police officers, for example. So you get people from all walks of life at the police station, and you get people that have allegedly committed all sorts of offences. I don't think I've ever been to the police station on one day and dealt with the same offence twice. I generally get different offences each time I go, and that's what makes it interesting. That's what keeps the work varied. In terms of when you can be expected to do this work, and this is the part what often puts people off, that's why I've left it towards the end. You can be expected to go to the police station at any time on any day. That's the hard part. What I would say is that most solicitors firms have a structure in place, or a rota system in place. And what that means is that it might be on Mondays on this week you're on the rota, but then you're not on for another week until Thursday the following week. And every other person within the firm will be on a different day. And when it's your day, in theory, you could be called out to the police station at any time. That's a 24-hour clock. I would say that police officers are getting better. So according to PACE, Police and Criminal Evidence Act, your client will need to have 8 hours rest. Quite often, they will give that 8 hours rest during the night time. So I haven't been to the police station that often during the night. I know that some firms are really bad for sending young people out at 3 a.m. But I think I'm quite lucky. So I don't know if Fauzia's experience at Tuckers is different.
No, TAC is actually really nice with us. We actually have a rota in place, so you pretty much know when you will be on rota. So it's not actually too bad. No, TAC is actually quite nice. So you'll pretty much will expect when you'll have to kind of like go at night. So yeah, don't panic. But
yeah, absolutely.
Of course, other firms might be a little bit harsh on that.
I did used to work at a bigger firm than what I'm at now, and that was a bit more lethal in terms of when you was expected to go out. But I would say that offices are getting a lot better, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. Quite often, they will put down the client at 11 o'clock at night, and then they'll be ready to go at 9 o'clock the next morning, and you're up and you're ready to go. It's very rare or very occasional that I've been out during the night, and it's usually you're expected to go out in the night if it's a youth, so a young person, and they want to get that person out as soon as possible, or if that 24-hour clock that I told you about at the start is about to run out, and the police start panicking, thinking, oh my God, we've not interviewed them yet, and we've only got 3 hours left on the clock. What are we going to do? Okay, we'll call their legal and get them to come out. But generally speaking, as I say, it doesn't happen all that often, but it can happen. What I would say is, though, is that you will be expected to go at least in the evening. So I go to the police station quite regularly at 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. And that's not unusual. So that's because because I work at a solicitor's firm, if I go to the police station between 9 and 5, I don't get extra money for that because I'm already getting paid by that firm. If I go after 5 or before 9, I get paid my fixed fee.
And that's the same with Tuckers. I just wanted to jump in. Yeah,
I think every firm is the same in that regard. So while you're at work, you don't get extra money. It's once you're doing your overtime, essentially, that you get the extra money. If you're an agent, though, no matter what time you go out, you'll get the fee. So if you're acting as an agent for a firm, you would get the fee then. I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about in terms of the accreditation, what to expect at the police station. And I'm just keen to make sure we leave time for some questions. So before I start looking at the question box, Faouzia, is there anything you want to add?
No, I think we covered pretty much everything. Let's go to the questions and see if we can answer those questions, because I can see a lot of people in the chat made some questions. So
yeah, brilliant. So the first one is can you please explain how you chose which of the providers to undertake the course out of the two?
Well, for me, it wasn't really that I had much option. Takis pretty much told me you have to go with Cardiff and that's it. So it really depends on the firm, really, because some firms have really good relationship with certain providers. So Takis has a really good relationship with Cardiff, and everyone who's been trained as a police station advisor, they've been going through through Cardiff just before me. So I didn't really have much choice in the matter. However, if you do want to go independently, like Paige just said, by approaching a supervisor solicitor from your work experience, then in that case you'll probably get the choice. So I think it's about doing a lot of research and thinking what one is the best. I mean, like we said, the price is pretty much the same, and you pretty much get the same sort of structure. So I mean, I don't think it really matters too much which provider you go, but I did have. I'm currently having a good experience with Cardiff, if I'm honest. They do give you quite a lot of resources, and I'm pretty sure Data Law does the same as well for Paige. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Pretty much the same thing. I think that some firms use one, other firms use another. They're both absolutely the same. I don't think there's any difference between them. It's all taught online. So you don't go into an institution, even if it's at Cardiff, for example, you wouldn't go in. You do it online, and it's essentially self-taught, because you learn how to be a police station representative by going to the police station, and that's how they view it. So you teach yourself whenever you want to. You can fit it around work or university. And I just went with Data Law because that was the one that my firm recommended. So I decided to go with it. I didn't even look at Cardiff. But I mean, have a look at the two different ones. As I say, there's not much between them, so it doesn't really matter. Have a look at their website, see which website looks best to you. Do you think you like the system more with one than another? And then go from there, really. The next question is, was the course delivered online or in person? They're both online.
Yeah, both online.
Yeah. The only things that can be in person is when you go for the exams. So I hope they don't go back to that, because I think it's a waste of time and money. But as I said earlier, they used to do the CIT exams at certain places around the country, written exam the same, but now it's all online. So hopefully it will stay like that. Is the course free? It's not free, as I mentioned at the start. The cheapest is about £400. The most expensive is about £850. That depends on the amount of support that you want from that provider. If you don't want much, then it's £400. If you want all of the support that they're prepared to offer you, that'd be the lectures, the training material, example portfolios, example exams, then it would be £850. But I am sure with the world of the internet that you can get most of that stuff free if you look for it or ask people. Please don't start hounding me though for free stuff. Like, I will try my best to help people, but I can't give it to everybody for free because I don't want to get in trouble. But I don't mind helping people along the way. If anybody wants to approach me and see basically whether or not you think paying for the material is worth it. Let me just go.
And it's the same for me, by the way. Of course, I can't hand all my notes to everyone because Cardiff is quite strict on the material, but always happy to help.
Yeah, I think that some of it you can't actually, well, there's some of ours that we can't like download and give it to other people, but some of it you can, like mock exams, for example. Okay, let me have a look. Would you not ask for the client's name for conflict checks at the first instance? Yes, conflict checks are very important. You are supposed to check if there's a conflict between the witness or whatever it might be. In my example, if that's what you're referring to, you would have already done a conflict check because you would have already known who the client was and who the other person was. This is you calling up the police to talk to the client, and before you speak to the client, what information do you want to find out? In theory, or in reality, I would say it's not always possible to do a conflict check before you've seen the client, but I mean, I like to think that we generally know most of our clients, or have a good understanding of who they are, etc. Or you know, their name might ring the bell once you've been doing it a while, but you would then go back and check if you didn't have time to do it while she was at the police station. But yeah, that's definitely, and that's one of those ethical issues that Faouzia was talking about earlier. If there's a conflict, what do? Well, you can't act, so you would have to say, sorry, Mr. X, I can't represent you because I have a conflict of interest. You would not tell him who that conflict was, that you knew who his partner was, that he's apparently assaulted or whatever it might be. Okay. Once qualified as being a representative of paid role, or is it voluntary? Is paid. Please do not be going to the police station for anybody for free, because the firms will be getting paid for it. So if they're expecting you to go for free, they're exploiting you, and I do not agree with anything like that. So definitely make sure you're getting paid if you're going. As I say, if you're doing it between 9 and 5, you probably won't get additional pay. But after that, or if you're an agent, you should be getting paid. And make sure you're looking at or asking people in your area how much they're getting paid as well. Because what I wouldn't want to be happening is you to be getting undercut. And it's very easy to ask. People are very friendly. You'll see people when you go into the police station, ask them, how much do you get? I asked Faouzia how much she got. So, you know, everybody's willing to share. Okay. What is actually involved in representing them? I think I went through that, essentially what you do at the police station. But if you have a specific question for either of us, then do pop that a bit later in the chat. I'll hopefully answer it. Can you post the 2 websites of the rep organisations? Oh yeah, I'll post them in a moment. What hours do you tend to work as a rep? I think we've gone through that. It can be any time. How do you apply for an exemption from the exam? You just need proof that you've passed either the LPC or the BPTC. So that might be provisional marks, or your final certificate to say that you've passed. And you then email it to the provider, and then they will just come back and say, thanks, you're exempt. That's it. It's not very complicated. Do you have to work for a firm, or can you just be an agent? And can you repeat the agent sites? I'll pop the agent sites on in a moment. You can work for a firm or as an agent. It doesn't really matter. The only problem that you have is getting that supervisor to start with. And of course, it's going to be easier if you are working at a firm, because they will be very keen to get you on the rota. All firms want everybody on the rota. But it's not impossible to get a supervisor, because it's not much work for them. Okay. I am due to receive my results for the bar course next week. I'm scared I might fail, and I start a new paralegal role in July. Oh, what have I pressed here? The company provides me. This has gone really small all of a sudden. I'm sorry. Can you see the question, Faouzia?
So is it the one from
I've got it, sorry.
Fariha? Thank you for this. Oh, sorry, you got it.
Go on, you're all right, if you want to read it.
Thank you for this session. This is a bit lengthy one, but I'm due to receive my results for the bar course next week. I'm scared that I might fail and start a new paralegal role in July. The company provides me with an opportunity to obtain the police station accreditation. I'm just anxious, and I'm also conscious that the accreditation must be complete in 12 months. If that's the case, should I wait to pass my exam or start the accreditation? Thank you in advance. Oh, that's quite a complicated question.
Go on, sorry.
No, I mean, I'm not too sure. I mean, I think it depends on your firm. Does your firm want you to pass for in a certain period of time? Because when I sign up for the police station accreditation, it's not that I had like a deadline, if that makes sense. You know, I was like in probation for a few months first, you know, getting comfortable with my paralegal role, and then I started my accreditation as soon as I got comfortable. I'm not sure if you have a different view on this page, but
my advice is you're going to be a paralegal. You're probably not getting paid very much money, and that's the reality. I'm not, you know, being rude or anything. You're probably not getting paid very much. So I would try and do the accreditation as soon as possible, because when you're getting 19, 18, sometimes less than that, £1,000, or, you know, maximum you're going to get 25 grand. The money that comes from going to the police station can really, really help. And if you think, even if you're getting a low rate of £70 and you do 10 jobs in a week, that's more than what you're ever going to earn as a paralegal. So I would try and do it as soon as possible. In terms of waiting because you might fail your bar course, that's what I thought I did, and that's why I didn't lie to get into the firm that I was in, but I had a whole malarkey with our exams failing, and lots of people had to redo them 2 months later. And I told them that I passed and had an exemption, and they thought that obviously I'd be able to do it really fast, and I couldn't. But what I would say is that the written exam, you can do it in 3 weeks. So if you fail your bar course, and I'm not saying that you have to do it in 3 weeks, Faouzia, by the way, I don't know how long it's taken you, but in theory, you could do it in 3 weeks.
yes, you can, yeah.
Yeah, so I would say that if your firm's paying for it and you've got to wait another year to do your bar exams, or even 6 months, why not just get them to pay for you to do the written exam and not have the exemption? And if you've done the bar course, you've done a law degree or whatever GDL you might have done, you will pass the written exam with flying colours. That's my advice, because otherwise you're going to be waiting ages and you could be earning extra money for not that much more stress to do the written exam. Faouzia, please could you put your details in the chat? Somebody's asked for those.
Sure, no problem. I'm going to put on the chat.
Thank you very much. And do you ever get called to court to discuss the initial interview as evidence? That has never happened to me, but I've not been doing it that long. What I would say is, however, is that's why you would try not to put yourself in a situation where there might be a conflict, i.e. you would not represent a friend. I would never do that. You would not represent a family member. You would not represent somebody where you know there's a conflict. And that's why people say if you are a barrister, you shouldn't represent people at the police station, because you can end up in a tricky situation. So you need to be very careful if you later qualify as a barrister and you're going to be representing people in court. But it really happens. All that ever happens with police station interviews at court is they might ask the client, why did you go no comment? And the client will say, because my solicitor told me to. That's it. And everybody expects that that's what they're going to say. So it's very rare. It happens, but it's rare. So I would not be concerned about getting called to court for it. I know everybody's keen to write the books. Have you written the books in, Faouzia?
Yeah, shall I put the name of the books then?
Yes, please. Do you have to complete either Part B or the CIT exam to be accredited? You have to do all of it. So you have to do the written exam or get an exemption. You have to do Part A of the portfolio, the CIT exam, and Part B of your portfolio, all of it. The only exemption you can get is the written exam. How old do you have to be to take the exam? I mean, I'm sure you have to be like 18, but you don't. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I would presume that you would have to be 18, because legally you're still a child until you're 18. So that's my take on it. But you don't have to be like 21 or 25 or anything like that. Just 18, I would imagine. But I'm not 100% sure on that. So if you are under 18, then please check with the providers. I've got a law degree, but I'm just wondering, is this accreditation open to everyone? Yes, it is open to everyone. They say that you learn the skills whilst you're doing the course. So, and you have to think that there are people from 50 years ago that probably didn't have law degrees or do any accreditation, and they seem to do the job just fine. So it's open to everybody. Harriet, that's a really funny answer. Sorry. I'm glad it's been useful. What tricky situation could you encounter if qualified as a barrister and accredited rep? Tricky situations are whereby you are going to be represented now by a barrister that represented you at interview. And what if that client says in cross-examination, well, I only said that because my barrister told me to, and you're the barrister, either representing or prosecuting, you would then have to withdraw because you'd be professionally embarrassed, and you wouldn't want something like that to happen. So that's why it can be a bit tricky, and it's always worth not working on the same cases that you've represented people at the police station. The reality is that once you've been at the bar for about 2 years, I don't think you'll have time to be going to the police station. Or if you do have time, you'll be exhausted, because at the criminal bar, you get cases at 5, 6 o'clock the night before, and you're in court at 10 o'clock the next day. So you need your evenings really to be preparing your cases, not going to the police station. But you can do it for the first few years to get some money whilst you're at the bar, because it can be a bit rubbish. But that's just something to think about. Did you say that you don't? Sorry. Did you say it's normally recommended that you don't act as a police station rep if you are going to be a barrister? No, that's not what I'm saying. I have done the bar course, and at some point in my life will go to the bar. That doesn't mean that I can't represent people at the police station now. What I'm saying is that if you are a barrister, you are a pupil barrister, I wouldn't recommend working on cases at the police station that you are going to work on at court. Work on different ones by all means, but sometimes, and people that are more experienced than me don't recommend it, because you don't want to end up in that conflict situation. Oh, there, the books. Did you both decide to just pay for the testing? My firm pays for mine, and I know that Fauzia's pays for hers. So I actually got the full stuff from the provider because I wasn't paying for it. But I know that Faouzia hasn't got all of the stuff because you have somebody that helps you along at work, don't you?
Yeah, so I have obviously the support for the written exam, because those written exams are a bit weird, because you have to kind of like get into the examiner mind. So I had actual extra material and lectures on that. And I will obviously get the same for the critical incident test, because that exam is quite weird. But for my portfolio, I'm not actually have any lectures on that, simply because my supervisor's got the skills to actually help me on how to write those cases. So I don't need to, well, I'm not paying anyways, but the firm does not need to pay for the portfolio training, if that makes sense.
Brilliant. Could you tell us an interesting story from one of your experiences? I guess it depends what you call interesting. I've had some very bizarre ones where people have denied doing things and they have clearly done it. So, for example, one man denied sexual assault, but his saliva was on the inside of somebody's bra. And in a situation like that, it's very difficult to not be angry at people and keep a straight face when you know they are lying. Clearly, because DNA shows, how else could his saliva have got into that person's bra? So that's the difficult part. I wouldn't say it's interesting, but it's an interesting conversation to have when people don't understand why you're saying something to them. And some people have very good conspiracy theories about the police. I am not by any means saying that the police don't do things wrong, because they absolutely do. But some people have very strange conspiracy theories quite a lot of people that you meet sadly will have mental health issues, and you know, I've had people saying that there's things crawling out of their skin. I've had people saying that they've committed a crime because somebody was coming through their walls and told them to go and hit that person. So honestly, you see all sorts of things. I mean, some of those stories are quite sad, but they're definitely interesting and they keep the job interesting. What about you, Faouzia? Have you had anything interesting so
Well,
far?
obviously, because I'm still kind of early stage, I haven't actually had the beauty to meet these kind of people like Paige was saying, but I think I already had the pleasure to meet hostile police officers. So I think you have to bear in mind that sometimes when you go there, they will try to undermine your role as much as possible. So sometimes if you're not solicited, they will try to say, oh, you're a probationary anyways, you know. So bear that in mind. Also, myself and my supervisor, we advised to our client to got no comment simply because there was not enough disclosure and it was quite vulnerable. And the police officer who was interviewing our client was bullying him very badly. So he was asking like really, really pushy question, if that makes sense. I don't want to obviously disclose too much, but I think in that role, it was quite interesting to see my supervisor, how he kind of stood up for the client by saying, look, I think you should change the tone on how you're questioning my client. You should stop using that finger by pointing to my client, because there was inappropriate other as well. And the client clearly had mental health issues. So I think, but interesting, you know, they're not necessarily nice, but I think, you know, your role in there is to, you know, to make sure that your client is protected. So yeah, I hope that kind of gives some interesting side of the job.
Absolutely, and that is important what you say, because police officers, although professionals, are not our friends, and our job is to protect our clients' rights and ensure that those rights are realised at the police station. And I'm quite new to the job, but I don't mind telling police officers what a piece of my mind, quite frankly. And if they're acting inappropriately, I will make it clear. If they repeatedly ask the same question of my client, I will say that I don't think it's appropriate that you keep asking the same question over and over again. And that comes with confidence. So you need to be confident. It will be my first day on the job, and I'll be acting like I've been there for 5 years, because them officers don't need to know that I'm new. That client doesn't need to know that I'm new. You just need to put on that face, put on that bravado. And if they're doing something that they shouldn't be, you need to be telling them, in my opinion. So, yeah, definitely, you know, be confident in it. Even if you are new, don't worry about that. Everybody has to start somewhere, but you will get officers that will ask you. And I don't ever tell people that I'm a probationary rep. I don't ever tell people that I was a legal rep. I say that I'm here from legal, or I'm here from Phillips Solicitors. They can draw their own conclusions from that. You don't need to say, oh, this is my first day, I'm a probationary representative from Phillips Solicitors, because then, you know, unfortunately, people will try and take advantage from that. Whereas if you act a bit more confident, and the confidence comes from going to the police station regularly. If you go to the police station with your supervisor a few times, you will know who those sergeants are. You will know how to get in and out of the police station, for example, and that helps, because then you don't feel really nervous. When you've got your own cases for Part A and Part B, are you able to do the full range of offences? No, yeah, you can do everything, so you're not restricted. I can go and do murder now if I wanted. I'm not saying that your firm would send you to do a murder when you've been doing the job a week, but you know, it's not been unknown. So I would hope that they would send you for a murder once you've been doing the job maybe 6 months, but you know, it depends on the firm. I don't know what's the difference between the PSA and the PSS. I don't know. Sorry, I'm not sure what the PSS is. Sorry about that. Would it be possible to do this alongside an undergraduate degree? Yes, it's flexible. You do it when you want. So, and you can do as much police station stuff as you want, or as little as you want. So I wouldn't worry about that. As young women, have you ever felt in danger in the job? Have you ever felt in danger so far, Faouzia?
No, I haven't actually. I think no, I haven't. But that's obviously because I've been going to the police station with my supervisor solicitor. So I presume maybe when you're on your own, you feel a little bit concerned. But Our firm is quite good in the sense that, you know, if I am stuck, I can literally just take the phone and ring my supervisor, no matter the time is, you know, even if it's 2 o'clock in the morning. He might not like that, but you know, they're always willing to help. So I don't feel too self-conscious about going to the police station. What about you, Paige? Have you ever felt in danger when you were on the police station on your own?
Not in danger, because you're helping them, so they're always nice. They might be a bit pissed off about being at the police station, but they're always nice to you. What I would say is that it does depend on the police station, but quite often when you go into consultation, so that's to speak to your client, there will be a slab of glass between you. That's for your protection. So quite often you're not ever left on your own with the client. If you are left on your own with the client, you will see red strips all around the walls. That is emergency tape. So if you touch it, the police will come running in. So you will be on your own for 0.1 seconds. Okay. So don't worry about that at all. I don't think you've got anything to worry about. Can you withdraw from being a rep for a certain case, or do you have to go when called? There are situations where you could hand it back. If, for example, it was a sexual offences case and you didn't feel able to do it, I would be saying to my supervisor, I don't feel up for that, so can somebody else go? Or when they ring you as an agent, they will tell you what the job is, and you can say, no, I'm not up for that, sorry. And they'll ring the next person. So don't worry about that. Absolutely not. In the event where the police have a mountain of evidence against your client, how do you proceed? Depends what that mountain of evidence is. If they're saying, if they can prove that my client has done something, then either my client might wish to give an account and get full credit if he accepts it or she accepts it, or I might just tell him to go no comment and hope that something changes between now and court. Because, for example, there might be lots of evidence that he's assaulted his partner, but unfortunately, or fortunately for my client, quite often partners retract their statement and don't want to support prosecutions, and that might mean that the case is going to go away. That's good for my client. I'm not saying that that's good for domestic violence in any way, but obviously my interests are my client, so that it could be that the position for him will change. Okay, I'm going to have to finish the questions soon because we have run over, but if an undergraduate student was to complete the course, they would be able to represent the client without having done the bar course or the SQE. That is correct. You just need to do the accreditation. It just means that you won't get an exemption from the written exam. So you'll have to do the written exam at the start of the accreditation. If you've done the bar course or the LPC or SQE, then you would be exempt from that written exam. When do you call in the barrister to represent them at court? That would be for a Crown Court case. So just quickly about the system, you go to the police station, you then go to the magistrate's court, and then some offences or cases will go to the Crown Court. It would be when you go to the Crown Court, or in very limited circumstances at the magistrate's court. So it's a very long way away. A barrister would never go to the police station. I'm going to leave the questions there because I think I've done most of them and we have run over. But if anybody has any questions, I am sure that Faouzia is also happy to get any questions. I'm just going to say those things again for the organisations. It's policestationreps.com and repsoncall.co.uk. But if you Google police station representative agents, lots come up. So there'll be loads local to you as well. As I say, we're both open to questions. I think Faouzia said that earlier. I'm not putting words into her mouth.
Yeah, no, I'm more than happy. Like I said, I put my details in the chat. Of course, bear in mind that me and Paige, we do work full time. Please don't be rude. We do try our best to answer all the questions either on LinkedIn or, Instagram or whatever you want to choose. However, just bear in mind that we do have full-time jobs and we can't really give you perhaps a quick answer, but we do endeavor to answer as much as soon as possible. So yeah,
absolutely. And I will try and put the recording on. I'm not the most technical person, but I will try my best. And if anybody has any specific questions, then just pop them to me on LinkedIn or Instagram, and I'll be happy to answer them as well. Thank you, Faouzia, for joining, and thank you everybody for sticking with us. I hope you
No
found
worries.
it useful.
All right. Thank you very much for everybody. It was lovely to see you all, and I hope I'll hear more from you. All right.
Thanks, Faouzia. Bye.